Welcome to my series, A Tarot Study and Journal Practice. Today we are interviewing the High Priestess. Last time we interviewed the Fool and the Magician, and we are using this one. The deck I am using in particular is the classic design tarot, or the original tarot, and any Rider-Waite tarot deck will work. You want to have a deck that has the same imagery as this one that we're doing today. I'm going to be going through all 78 cards, so be ready for that. Make sure that you have a journal and a pen, because this is sort of like a conversation with each card, rather than asking the booklet that it comes with exactly what it means, which we will be doing, but I'm curious what happens when we sit with the deck long enough to ask it questions and allow it to speak to us intuitively. What do we notice? And this is just a style that I like to do. There's a lot of different ways to study tarot. I believe it is a lifelong practice, something that you return to over and over. I do anyway. I feel like I learn something different every time I've done this, and I've done this several times with this particular deck, and I've done it with many other decks. So I hope that you join me, and let's talk to the High Priestess. So first of all, when you look at this card, before we get into what the book has to say, we want to ask, who are you? Who are you, High Priestess? What do you notice when you look at this card? What emotions arise? I always want to say, I don't want to talk about if it's negative or positive necessarily, but what emotions are evoked when you look into this card? What does it feel like? And what stands out? I'm going to give you a moment to write in your journal, and I'm going to write a few observations that I have. Okay, so before I begin talking about what I wrote, I hope that you did have an opportunity to write your perspective down, because I don't want to sway anyone's intuitive gatherings with what I have to say. But first, what I noticed is her crown. That's one of the first things that I noticed. It's very large, and the moon is at her feet. It's the number 2, and it looks like she has fruit surrounding her. Maybe they're pomegranates. This card is sort of, for me, it feels calming, but it also feels very intense for someone to be sitting square in front of you, looking you straight in the eye. It's like laser focused. It's very intense. Whereas the Fool and the Magician, I noticed yellow, a lot of yellow. There is yellow in here, which definitely stands out, but I noticed the blue first. Okay, what did you write? Hopefully you did the intuitive part. I think it's even more important than reading the description. So I'm going to read the description in the book, but first I want to ask a few questions to have in mind, like, what are you here to teach, High Priestess? What stands out when I read the description? What resonates, and what is a defining feature or explanation that opens up your understanding to the card? So these descriptions are short, but it's still a lot to memorize, and I don't think people should be memorizing. That's just too much. That's daunting, and it makes this not fun at all. I think what I like to do is read it and then jot down a few things that stand out, a few keywords, a few phrases, something that will help me remember. And I always remember something different every time I do this, which I think is really interesting. Okay, so there's a upright meaning when the card is like this. There's a reversed meaning when it is upside down in a reading. You can do reversals or not. I think it's just it's always helpful to know both definitions, whether you use them or not, because you can always add the reversal meaning into a reading depending on the surrounding cards, or if you do reversals. So upright, it means intuition, wisdom, mystery, spirituality, and subconscious. Reversed means blocked intuition, secrets, withdrawal, disconnection, and superficiality. All right, so the High Priestess sits serenely between a black and white pillar. Like a guardian between worlds, she holds a partially rolled scroll labeled Torah on her lap, symbolizing hidden knowledge, and a crescent moon rests at her feet. Upright, this card encourages you to trust your intuition and explore your inner world. The High Priestess is all about the wisdom of the subconscious and the idea that not everything can be understood through logic. Some truths you just know deep down. She often appears when you should follow your gut, pay attention to dreams, or take time for quiet reflection. Reversed, the High Priestess suggests you might be ignoring your inner voice or feeling disconnected from your intuition. It can also point to gossip or secrets being kept, either by or from you, and a need to dive deeper to find the truth. Reconnect with your intuitive side and be wary of superficial understandings. All right, so what did you gather from that? Write down a few things. Hopefully you already did. Write down a few things that sort of resonate with you on what the meaning of this card is. And you can always ask, what am I learning from this card? The next thing that I always like to do is ask, if I were to pull this card, if I was going to be doing a reading for myself on just what the energy surrounding the present moment and this time in my life right now, I pulled this card, how would I interpret it for my life at this moment? And again, I don't want to sway you with my perspective, so I'm going to just leave it there as a question to you for you to journal. And I'm going to give you just a minute. And now, every time that you pull this card, you'll probably notice something a little bit different every time. For me, the crown stood out. Maybe the scroll that she's holding in her hand. Maybe the pillars on either side of her, this black and white, this bifurcation. Maybe one realm into another, the light, the dark, the hidden and the unhidden. But what would this mean for you today if you were to draw it? And one thing before we end this interview with the High Priestess today, before we part, I would just like to take a single word. What word can I use to embody the High Priestess? I'll give you a minute to think of a word for her, and I'm going to write down mine. I think I usually would want to say something about intuition or the subconscious, but today the word that I'm thinking of is mystery when it comes with the High Priestess. All right, and next time we're going to be looking at the Empress. And I hope you join me. Until next time.